If I could be a kind of Machiavellian advisor to Keir Starmer whispering in his ear, I'd say restart the culture war, because you can't win on economics. You've got no money that you can throw at your base anymore.
They sort of are doing that, though,
I think you've got, as much as, you know, Keir Starmer is someone who will find that very disappointing and difficult. I mean, that's frankly how his political career really got off the ground.
There are clear political benefits for Starmer to be talking about this. What are those? One, we all know who is breathing down his neck. Well, one, of course, is Farage. Farage's great asset is that, unlike pretty much all of the other major parties in Parliament, he does not have a record to defend, except, of course, he does. He has Brexit. It is his signature contribution to British political life. He owns it. He is it.
Lewis, I'm sure you read Daniel Finkelstein's column today in The Times, Conservative peer. He wrote, at the next election, Labour will campaign to overturn Brexit. Do you think that's right?
No, I don't think that's right, although I think that the direction of travel that Danny identifies is the correct one. I mean, look, we saw that in the Prime Minister's speech last night, and I think that, there is an economic imperative for sure, but there are political imperatives as well. Look, the economic imperative is clear. We need growth. It would clearly be closer relations, would clearly unlock some growth. I think the truth is, though, that within the red lines that I think that clearly Starmer and the government are going to stick to at least until the election, they have probably maximised most of the room which exists within Brussels operating within that framework, right? They've already got a deal. It's probably not likely to be augmented much before the election. But there are clear political benefits for Starmer to be talking about this. What are those? One, we all know who is breathing down his neck. Well, one, of course, is Farage. Farage's great asset is that, unlike pretty much all of the other major parties in Parliament, he does not have a record to defend, except, of course, he does. He has Brexit. It is his signature contribution to British political life. He owns it. He is it. And there is now enough space, I think Number 10 thinks, between the sort of fetid Brexit wars and enough public dissatisfaction with the Brexit settlement, which includes Leavers and Remainers alike, by the way.
It's not harming reform in the polls, is it?
Well,
at all. I mean, you know, you look at. I mean, I was looking at them today. The latest ones, polling by Moore and Commons, suggested nearly half of respondents believe there should be another referendum. A majority think that Brexit has not worked. They think it's been more of a failure than a success.
But their argument, I suppose, or their thinking would be, is that they have been reluctant to articulate the critique and attach it to Farage uptown. And the other thing is, just briefly, what is actually, everyone talks about reform. Labour's biggest problem right now is not hemorrhaging votes to reform,
100%.
It's hemorrhaging votes to their left, to the Green and Lib Dems, who are avowedly Remain parties. So Starmer talking about this more is as much concentrated on them as it is Farage.
Yeah.
I think it's a complete no-brainer. They should absolutely campaign on rejoining the European Union. I mean, for purely political reasons.
Ahead of the next election?
Completely. I mean, for the people that...
Why would that be a vote winner?
Well, I think the reason for that is you're not going to turn off people anymore, because the people that already would have split with you over Brexit have long since gone. They are not coming back to you. I know Labour feels quite sentimental about a lot of the Red Wall voters that they lost during Brexit, but they're never coming back. You're completely right, Lewis. What you need to go for is you need to galvanise the centre-left, who at the moment are very dissatisfied with Labour, who seem weak, listless. They're going towards the Greens, they're going towards the Lib Dems. This is how you kind of radicalise progressive in England, right? You need to galvanise them over one thing. And I think going back into the European Union, for the reasons that you mentioned, it would really upset Nigel Farage. You get to paint him as someone who's already been tried and failed. And you get to say that this is going to deal with our growth problems, even though it won't. But you can say that, you can make a good argument for it. It's a no-brainer.
Poppy's agreeing with Piers Morgan. This is what he said
I mean,
right here a few days ago.
But don't you think the problem is...
He's not always wrong,
it's a fact. It's a problem of timing, is it not? I mean, we left the European Union. I mean, I didn't vote in the European Union. I wasn't even old enough. But I do know people who are of my kind of age demographic, slightly older, who are really dissatisfied with Brexit, because they can see when Britain kind of falls off a cliff, 2019, 2020, I think mainly was because of the pandemic. That's when all the money started to be spent on those things, created these bad fiscal situations. But it happened at the same time as Brexit. So even though the European Union is suffering just as much as Britain, if not more so, even though the customs union don't think will give us the growth benefits it can be promised, a political narrative can be built up that is very powerful for Starmer.
But the data does seem to suggest that whilst more people may think that Brexit has been a mistake, when you say, would you like another referendum, it's Brenda from Bristol, not another one.
But don't do a referendum, just go back in. Just go back in. Farage is saying we'll leave the ECHR without a referendum.
The very potent campaigns from people like
I
Nigel
think
Farage and the Conservatives.
And your point, Bob, is exactly right as well, which is that, I mean, although there is clear political imperative for the reasons we've discussed, an advantage that Starmer might yield even from that strategy, the truth is a sentimentality of the Labour Party. Like, one of the fundamentals of politics right now is that the Labour Party has the electorate it's got, and it's not the electorate it really wants. You know, the Labour Party, which is deeply nostalgic, deeply sentimental, still conceives of itself as the party of the pit villages, of the party of the South Wales valleys, of Lanarkshire, of the Central Belt, all these sorts of places. And actually, as a result of the last election, it is. But it's also the party of urban England, of huge parts of rural England. And the electorate that it wants is basically not very often the actual electorate that it has. You know, the electorate it has, it basically chose to hammer at the last budget a week ago, which is basically an electorate of younger voters who are sort of lower middle class, graduates, university educated and so on. This is not the people, generally speaking, the Labour Party thinks it went into politics or was created for, but it is the politics that it has.
If I could be a kind of Machiavellian advisor to Keir Starmer whispering in his ear, I'd say restart the culture war, because you can't win on economics. You've got no money that you can throw at your base anymore.
They sort of are doing that, though,
I think you've got, as much as, you know, Keir Starmer is someone who will find that very disappointing and difficult. I mean, that's frankly how his political career really got off the ground, was campaigning on rejoining the European Union. He needs to galvanise that base again. It's the only way he's going to be able to see off people like Zach Polanski. It's the only way he's going to be able to stop hemorrhaging those kind of upper middle class voters to the Liberal Democrats who are just frustrated that they're just sitting there not doing anything. I don't think it will solve Britain's problems, but I do think it could help them maybe not win an election, but not lose as badly.
Okay. Sorry, were you going to say one more
No, I was
thing,
just going to say, what is I think most interesting about this is the fact that they think that this clear space exists and that, you know, they wouldn't have gone here, you know, even 12 months ago.
Absolutely not.
And so we can see how quickly, I mean, it's both a reflection, I think, of how much public opinion has shifted relatively quickly, but also, to be honest, it's a reflection that their political situation and their political health is much worse than it was, and it is basically it is allowing them or forcing them to start to gamble and take decisions that they wouldn't otherwise have taken, which I think will probably be a feature of 2026.
Okay.